Welcome to part 45 of Basic Training. Today we're going to cover everything you need to know to play Neo Bowser City on 150cc. The recommended build for this course is going to be Baby Peach, Bitty Buggy, Azure Rollers, and Paper Glider. Hey, we're doing baby strats again. Sort of. In reality, 99% of what we're going to talk about can be done with a heavy character as well, but we'll get into that later on in the video. When the run begins, immediately start a left drift and build up a mini turbo, and then follow it up with a super mini turbo around the right turn. If you take the turn tightly enough, you can do this little cut over the off-road, but otherwise just drift around it. After tricking off the ramp, again take the turn tightly and grab 2 coins in the tunnel section while building up a super mini turbo. Around this next left turn, we want to build up an ultra mini turbo, and to do this, just hang the turn as tightly as possible until after you come up on the straightaway. Then just widen up your drift until you get the ultra mini turbo. Right hop to release, and then delay a bit before doing another right hop into a left drift. We're going to build up a super mini turbo around this turn and then release and immediately start a right drift. You'll build up a mini turbo here, but you want to try and time it out so that you release it as soon as the super mini turbo boost runs out. That way you can stay at boost speed for as long as possible. This is an example of something called boost chaining, and it's something we're really going to want to focus on during the upcoming S turn, especially on lap 1. The basic story here is that you want to release your mini turbos as quickly as possible, which will allow you to chain boosts as well as take tighter lines. For example, you can see that I released this super mini turbo around the first part of the S turn as soon as I get it. Yes, this means before I can even see the next left turn. We're going to immediately start a left drift and build up an ultra mini turbo while grabbing all 4 coins here. And again, release it as soon as you get it. Immediately start a right drift and build up 1 more ultra mini turbo, but fair warning, you're going to want to brake drift here to take the turn as tightly as possible, but only on lap 1. Once you release that ultra mini turbo, wait until you pass the blue anti-grav pad and then start a left drift to build up a mini turbo. You can actually use this mini turbo to cut part of the off-road, but I don't do a very good job of that here. Either way though, you're going to want to immediately start another left drift and then mushroom through the off-road, making sure to stay as close to the wall as possible. You'll build up an ultra mini turbo, at which point you want to release and then just drive straight off the glider, making sure to press the trick button after your glider starts coming out so that you can get a low glider. I've covered this in other videos, but the reason you don't want to trick off the glider is that the very act of tricking off a glider ramp resets your speed before giving you the trick boost. So it's actually faster to just keep the ultra mini turbo off the glider than it is to get the trick boost. After that, we're on to lap 2, and it's pretty similar to lap 1 except for the S turn and the bits leading up to it. You may have noticed that we only have 9 coins, so we're going to grab our 10th coin just before getting to the S turn. And then, since we don't need to grab coins anymore, we can take these turns super tight. That means we're only going to have time to build up a super mini turbo though, so once again, release it as soon as possible and then build up an ultra mini turbo around the right turn. By the way, the reason we had to brake drift on lap 1 is because the momentum of the original ultra mini turbo flings us way outside, but since we only build up a super mini turbo on laps 2 and 3, we can just accelerate through the whole thing while taking a tight line. There's not too many differences between my run and the world record. Really, the only 2 things are that they build up an ultra mini turbo in the first tunnel section and then build up an extra mini turbo and motion glider off the glider ramp. Both of these strategies require soft drifting abilities that I just haven't quite figured out yet. But other than that, my strats are basically the same, minus that theirs has ridiculously tight driving. If you want more details on how to play this track with a non-baby character, I've put a link to the current Shroomless Waluigi world record in the description below. And that's it for the strats. Let's talk a bit more about the track while checking out my current personal best. And by the way, if you found the video helpful so far, please don't forget to drop a like and a comment to let me know, because this helps the video get spread to more people, which is by far the best way to help out the channel. Thank you very much for that. Now, Neo Bowser City. You might have noticed that this is a fairly short tutorial, and that's because there's not really a lot to talk about in terms of advanced strategies. That is, unless of course you count taking really tight lines as a separate advanced strategy. Don't get me wrong, the lack of advanced strats is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, I rather enjoy this course, since, like Electrodrome, it's one where you can get arbitrarily close to the world record almost entirely based on tight lines and good drifting. That's one of the reasons why I usually suggest Electrodrome as a good beginner course to pick up if you're seriously trying to improve at the game. But Neo Bowser would definitely be the next course on the list if you're trying to take your game to the next level. Now obviously good lines and tight driving is exponentially harder on this track than it is on Electrodrome, but that's why this one's in my top 8 and Electrodrome is not. I tend not to talk about racing too much in my videos, but there's a lot of track-specific stuff you should probably know in terms of trying to use the skills you've built up in time trials to compete against real people. First up, there's a ton of spots where a well-placed bomb can be absolutely devastating. The first tunnel, the section before the S turn, and the S turn itself all have a bunch of really tight turns where you can't see what's coming up next. And even if you could, The bomb explosion radius is big enough that there's basically no avoiding it, even if you know it's coming. Bananas also put in serious work on these parts of the track. In terms of bagging strats, pulling bullet bills is a godsend, and if you use one just a little bit before going into the S-turn section, it'll take you all the way through that turn and drop you off right in front of the second tunnel, which saves a ton of time. So yeah, the reason I love this course so much is because it kinda has something for everyone. A lot of the courses in the game are either really fun to time trial, but kinda jank to play online because of the way the game's item system works, or they make it fun to abuse the game's busted item system, but are nightmarish to time trial because of difficult shortcuts. Neo Bowser is pretty much just fun no matter how you like to play the game, which is why I have no problem putting it in my top 8. And that's everything you need to know to play Neo Bowser City on 150cc. Hopefully you all found this video helpful, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe if you want to keep learning how to become a better racer. Thank you all very much for taking the time out of your day to do some basic training, and as always, I will see you in the next video.